can make a great day out of it. Let me just sell you on a great day on the couch with Easter candy.
I'm convinced. I'm convinced now. So a lot of us will have that option of enjoying that type of weekend.
Absolutely. You know, and we're finally getting a break from the rounds of severe weather. It's really been a constant week after week. So while we will be watching for rain, some thunderstorms, we're really backing off on that danger.
And that's the good news, because everyone, I think, at this point is a bit weather weary with the severe storms. There's, of course, light at the end of the tunnel, a break on the way. Maybe not for your umbrella and your windshield wipers, but in terms of talking about this dangerous, severe weather like tornadoes and damaging winds, we get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, so a lot of people welcoming that. But, you know, in terms of like getting yourself like feeling energetic on a day, you look outside, you know, the sunny days where you're like, I can take on the world. Not the day for you in Houston. We've seen lightning, we've seen thunderstorms.
Introvert's dream. You know those friends you have that you make plans with and you're like, I bet they're going to cancel, because I'm not an introvert. You're like, I bet they're going to cancel before we ever get there. And then when you see weather like this, you're like, okay, actually, I'm okay if they cancel, because I don't want to be out in that. So in Atlanta, we're looking at Saturday's high around the lower 50s, as Alex just showed you. It's going to be cold. It's going to be rainy and windy. Wind gusts up around 30 miles an hour in Atlanta. It's just not going to be a fantastic Saturday. Meanwhile, Omaha, my screen disappeared. Anyways, meanwhile, Omaha, it's going to be in the lower 70s, above average, sunny. Still a bit breezy in Omaha, but I'd still say not bad. Now look at this, though. We're talking about millions of people with their temperatures at least above 70 degrees. Now, it's not maybe all the places that you would expect to have the temperatures above 70 degrees, because, I mean, we're looking at below average temperatures for a lot of the country. But that temperature swing is going to change. April is one of those months where it is just highly transitional at all times, and that is what we're going to see over the next couple weeks or so. So take a look here. Today you can see where we've got the cooler air, especially where that boundary is hanging out, and we've got the better chance for rain. You're seeing temperatures well below average in cities like Houston and Nashville. Meanwhile, New Orleans, not a bad forecast for you, 75, 84 though in Savannah, and we are baking across Florida. So many people have tweeted me and been like, okay, you know, we live in Florida, we love the heat, we're just like you, Felicia, but it has just been too hot and dry. And you can see today we're in the upper 80s, tack on a couple degrees for what it's going to feel like. Now, maybe no broken records, but we're still getting really close. You can see here the forecast in Gainesville, 89 for today, the old record 90. So maybe not record breaking, but when you're that close, you might as well just break the records, right? In terms of the warm air that we do have around tomorrow, it's going to be a little limited, but we've got kind of an interesting setup. You end up getting a cutoff low here hanging out. So limited warm air across southern portions of the country. Meanwhile, look to the Midwest. You've got that southerly westerly wind component, and you're seeing temperatures soar to well above average as we head into your Saturday across the plains, stretching even farther through the Great Lakes region into the Northeast by Monday. And then we see that bleeding a bit farther south by Wednesday. So if you're hating the cold in places like Kentucky, it is going to warm back up shortly, Alex.
Full disclosure, I'm that friend, but I would write you and be like, let's not, because it's gross out. So at least I'm honest about the reasoning. I'll be like, do you also just want to stay inside?
Yeah, the weather is always the best excuse, because most women are like, oh yeah, no, it's gross, I don't want to go out.
I don't want to go out. You don't want to like get dressed and like, this is sweatpants weather this weekend for a lot of folks.
Anybody else in severe need of a tropical vacation? Maybe not. Maybe now that you see this image behind me. Sunny Isles, Florida. All of my favorite things, well, most of my favorite things. You got sunshine. I'm guessing it's warm. I don't know the temperature straight off the top of my head. You got palm trees, you got water. What more could you ask for? Well, I know what you could ask for. A lack of rip currents, and that is not the case at all. That is why it's problematic. Just look across the state now. It has been very, very warm, pretty dry across much of the state. Of course, we are in the drier season for Florida. And you see the sun is shining here. It should be a perfect beach day, right? Well, that's not so much the case when you're dealing with rip currents. And I think that exacerbates the problem, actually. If it's like storming, no one wants to be in the water anyways. But you've got a high risk of rip currents from West Palm down through Boca, Miami included in that, as well as the Fort Lauderdale beaches, and then portions of the Panhandle with that high risk of rip currents as well. So it is dangerous to get in those waters, especially, I mean, even if you're a strong swimmer, it's not great, because there's no one who can swim against a rip current and break it, but especially if you're an inexperienced swimmer. So the forecast for Miami Beach, Saturday, lower 80s. Sunday, you'll have a few storms around in the afternoon, mid 80s there, but of course, you've always got to take a look at that rip current forecast as well. The focal point of much of the moisture is going to be across the Florida Panhandle and northern Florida. Get south of that I-4 corridor and you're looking at mostly dry conditions Saturday, with the exception of maybe a little bit of interior action there. Look at those temperatures though. 91 in Orlando on Saturday, and you know it's going to feel even hotter than that when you factor in the humidity. Now by Sunday, we do see that rain becoming a little bit more widespread, but Naples, man, you guys just cannot really catch any rain recently. Really below average in terms of your rainfall so far for southwestern portions of Florida. Hence, you can see the extreme drought there around Naples, nearly 4.5 inches below average there, but severe for much of the state. Now, this is where you see the wildfires starting to bubble up. Of course, rainy season begins as we head through May, but we've still got the whole month of April and much of the month of May. So this could certainly get worse. So we will take that rain that is in the forecast. I know if you're on a Florida vacation, maybe you're in Central Florida for some of the amusement parks, you're not wanting rain, and I guess you're lucky because for the most part this weekend you're going to miss out on it. Here's what it looks like Saturday. Much of the southeast, with the exception of peninsular Florida, missing out on that rainfall. It starts to fill in for the Panhandle and North Florida, but by Sunday we see that closer to the coast for the Carolinas, for southeast Georgia, and filling in across South Florida as well. So it's not very long where we're going to be entering the rainy season, but still, when you see that severe drought, you don't like to see that anywhere.
No.
Alex.
Let's take a look.